Welcome back. 2022 marks 70 years since Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth took the throne. Now, a new documentary is looking back on Her Majesty's life and times. And I caught up with Kevin Loader, the producer of Elizabeth, A Portrait in Parts, to hear all about it.
God save the Queen.
Kevin, there's a lot of documentaries about the Queen. Tell us how you wanted to make Elizabeth different.
The key principles of this film were always, it's not going to be chronological. It's not going to have voiceover. It's not going to have talking heads. It's going to have other footage in it, as well as footage of the Queen and the royal family. And it's going to try and kind of just, conjure up not only a kind of tribute to her life and times, but also a kind of, rather mischievous exploration around who the hell she is.
I think everybody really will concede on this, of all days, I should begin my speech with the words, my husband and I.
It's kind of like a mixtape of her life, which is fascinating. There's a real sense about how people feel about the Queen in the movie. They see her as like a mother figure of England.
When people say she's like my mother or she's like my grandmother, they really mean it, because in some ways she seems very modest and ordinary and straightforward.
Why do we have a queen?
So she can look after country.
Kevin, you studied her. Is she completely impervious?
No, I don't think she's completely impervious. I think there are certain things you do take away from this film. And one is she's a woman who works extremely hard, but also I think she's got a great sense of humour. And that's the thing that we really realised watching all this stuff, is that there's a little bit of the Mona Lisa smile there.
You can't look down, because if you did, your neck would break.
Ow, it's my foot you're standing on.
Obviously, Her Majesty's gone through a lot throughout her reign, but these last 25 years, she really has gone through a number of royal scandals.
She's had to deal with a lot. I think she's done it with immense dignity and humanity. And I think in our film, we kind of chart very briefly what went on about the Diana thing, and it's kind of widely acknowledged, I think, everywhere now that they made a terrible error of judgment around that. And at the time, there was an outcry everywhere, but she stepped out of that car and she put it right.
What I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself.
I think what's gone on with the children and the grandchildren since, that must be really heartbreaking, I think, for her.
So what do you think? Do you think that the royal family can continue after Her Majesty passes?
I don't think it will remain this kind of great, archaic, grand institution, but I think there's a real sense inside the royal family that they need to adapt to the new circumstances after the Queen goes.
No institution should expect to be free from scrutiny.
This has always been her destiny.
I think that's one of the things that people really respect about her. That, she was thrown into this very young, and she had to grow up extremely quickly, I imagine. And, and we know from, whatever you think about the Crown as a TV series, but one of the things it did really capture was what it was like for a young woman to suddenly be thrown into this world.
So what is your takeaway of the Queen's life after making this film?
I think we're all slightly in awe of it, to be honest. I feel immensely grateful that she's been this constant in my life. So you really get a sense of the whole of the modern era being lived around and through this woman's life. And so I'm slightly in awe of that.
Did she feel like your mother or grandmother?
Yes. Look, if you're interested in the Queen, and it doesn't matter if you are or you aren't, I think this is one of the better docos I've seen. It's not in any linear form. It's sort of like a mood piece about her life. So it's, in that part, it's actually fascinating and entertaining. So Elizabeth, A Portrait in Parts is out in cinemas now.
In whole. In full.
Just in parts. The whole thing.
The whole thing is in cinemas.
In cinemas now. She's in... Never mind.